Hi, it's Stats Lesson 1, and I'm just going to give you an overview of what we did. Not necessarily going to work this out with you, but if you were absent or for some reason you need to review what was in this lesson, that's the purpose of this video. So we're looking at a setting where, let's say Pepsi advertises that if you buy one of their sodas and you look under the cap, that you could be a winner of a free soda. And so they even advertise 1 in 6 wins. Right here, 1 in 6. So imaginary class of 30 of my students goes to the store and they all buy a 20-ounce bottle of soda, but only 2 of them get caps that say that they're a winner. Now, 2 out of 30 is 7% approximately, but 1 out of 6 is about 17%. So there's a 10% difference between what we kind of were expecting as a class and what actually happened. So the question here really comes down to, was Pepsi lying to us, or does it seem like maybe we just experienced probability that what could happen did happen? I hope that makes sense, but it'll hopefully make sense as we look into this a little bit more. So we performed a simulation. A simulation is when we take a random process and we put that in the place of a real world process. So we used a die. A die, remember, is the singular form of the word dice. So each person in the class got a die and rolled it exactly 30 times. And they kept track of how many times they won. So that's the simulated process of the students going and buying a soda and seeing if it was a winner or not. So they picked a number from 1 to 6. Let's say they picked number 2. They rolled the die 30 times, and they just counted how many times 2 came up. So they submitted the number of wins, and then, so for number 3, I'm going to switch to my camera here, and I'm going to show you on STApplet what that looked like. Okay, so right here, and you notice there at the end, there are no 2-time winners. So in other words, each of these dots represents a student rolling the dice 30 times. So really what that might mean is that each dot stands for a class. So this is like looking at the results of 17 classes, because there were 17 dots here. You can see in our summary, there's 17. In 17 tries, nobody won 2 times or fewer. Let's go back to here. So nobody won, 0% in this simulation won 2 times or fewer. Why do we say or fewer? Well, because if 2 proves the point, 1 would prove the point even more, and 0 would prove the point even more than that. So does it seem plausible? Or in other words, you might put in place of plausible is possible. Does it seem possible the company's telling the truth, but the class just got, quote unquote, unlucky? Or in other words, they experienced probability. Well, in this case, because of this class's result of 0 out of 17 having 2 or fewer, you would say that the company is lying. The company is lying. Now, why would we say that? Well, is 0% rare? Is that so rare that we don't think that it could actually happen by chance? Well, it would all depend on what your standard is of what is rare. And so R.A. Fisher, one of our founders of statistics, a long time ago made a statement. He said, if something happens 1 out of 20, and that's 5%, that you would consider that to be a result. So as kind of a gold standard is a standard that, kind of exemplifies or matches the criteria. 0.05 is the standard for rareness. Now, does that ever change? And the answer is yes. My personal view on that, from what I've read, is that if you're working with things that do not have to do with human life, you could go as high as 10% to be rare. And if you are working with humans and the results are critical, you might go to 1% or even 0.01% as your standard of rareness. Okay, so the company is lying since 0% is so rare. Well, that's it for lesson 1. Of course, we're going to do the backside of this lesson as an assignment. But that's what it felt like if you were going to sit in class today. Take care.